remittances shrunk, and this automatically affected the domestic demand and the tumble effect onto the ability for the export companies to continue performing well. So we were able to therefore pick and try to implement the direction as to what the survey was showing us. So we did a strategic refocusing as a TSI to now concentrate on marketing to the region. And traditionally, we always looked, as some previous speaker said, I think it's the professor, to the former colonial relationship in terms of where we focus our concentration in marketing. So we were being given a wake-up call to actually look more south. And I wish to say that in that effort, we were able again to have technical development support that was willing to handhold us in promoting south-to-south trade. Traditionally, trade supporting technical assistance comes in between the host country and the offering country. If it's from Japan, it's for trade between Uganda and Japan. But we're able to get trade development support that helped us to actually handhold our SMEs to the regional markets. And that is a program that is going on right now, and we've taken more than 30 companies on a direct business matchmaking effort to enter the regional markets.
All right.
And we're also looking at cross-border trade, which we normally don't give so much attention, and we're in the process of coming up with a program that actually puts a lot of focus on cross-border trade. Being a landlocked country with 5 countries around us, we are looking at how to strategically whip up that business and have it formalized.
Thank you, Florence. We're actually going to come back to that interesting point about localization of trade and new opportunities. So please remember that point. But I would love to hear about, from a developed country, Canada. As I said, Brian is from Canada, and he's going to talk to us about how some of the TPOs in Canada responded to the crisis.
Thank you, Lisa. Indeed, there's sort of 2 perspectives that I'll try to bring, both some of those of Canadian trade promotion organizations that we partner with, but also of our overseas partners as we provide assistance to exporters looking to sell into the Canadian market and support TSIs in their efforts. And from those 2 perspectives, I have a bit of a contrarian response. The short answer is no, I don't think anything changed. The longer answer, and I'll indulge for a slightly longer response, is no, but. The reason for the no is that TSIs that we've spoken to, Indonesia, Peru, and a couple in Canada, continued very much, as I think they probably should have, delivering basic core services to their members, to exporters from their country, to their constituents. The core services of trade information, of risk sharing in entry into new markets. And those things didn't change, and I don't see them changing as a result of the crisis. The other thing that didn't change, but it was accelerated, is the shift in the marketplace. We've known for the last decade that the world is changing. It did change a little faster last year than we probably expected and would have liked, but the change, nevertheless, was not surprising. The growth of developing and emerging economies has been far outpacing those in North America and Japan and Europe for some time. And so there's no surprise in terms of what happened last year. I think what the learning was is in the response that was needed to these new opportunities and the declining opportunities unveiled a couple of nuances, and I'll get to that in a second. But the one last comment about the traditional markets is that they remain very important. And although they're stagnating, they aren't going away. And I think even this week's Economist, if you've had a chance to read it, comments that as much as the domestic demand and import growth in China is starting to replace some of the lost market opportunities in North America and U.S., Japan, it's still insufficient to take that place of those traditional markets. Now, there's two things that provide the but in the observations from both Canadian and our partner TSIs. The one is that a lot of exporters, very successful exporters, medium-sized ones, they are complacent. They're complacent about moving out of the comfort zone of traditional markets. And this was evident with our partners in Peru, Many of the larger clothing manufacturers there had relied heavily on U.S. Consumer marketplace for the majority of their exports, and had resisted efforts in previous years to explore new markets. Clearly, they were less resistant to those efforts last year. But that complacency has been observed also with Canadian exporters. Again, highly dependent on the U.S. market. I think Canadian exports traditionally 80% to the U.S. And very successful exporters, very complacent about moving outside of that comfort zone. And so a role clearly of the TSIs is to not just inform, but really to encourage, to incent those complacent exporters as a form of good public policy to move into those emerging markets. The other observation, which is a little self-serving, I guess, is that the traditional markets aren't all bad in terms of growth. There are, in fact, growing opportunities in them. And some of the TSIs have been quite successful, that we spoke to, in finding those unexploited areas within traditional markets, and with very little extra investment and focus, can shift the efforts of the exporters they're working with into new market opportunities in traditional areas. Examples: the southern United States, parts of Eastern Europe. Poland was cited as a good example, and even, if I may say, Canada. Peruvian exporters, as an example, were able to grow their exports to Canada by 17% in 2009. And indeed, some Ecuadorian exporters that we've worked with as well shifted their efforts north of the border to great success. So, yes, I don't think there's a lot that's changed, but there are some nuances that came out of the crisis that can inform how TSIs behave going forward.
Thanks, Brian. Very, very different experiences to what we've heard before. I'm going to skip Mr. Lee so I can get Morocco to speak to their experience, because I think Chongqing is a little different from the others and has a special experience to bring to bear. Go ahead, Mr. Bouraba.
Thank you very much. Let me first point out that Morocco, as opening country to the world, has many free trade agreements with the Union Europe, with the US, with Arab countries, with Turkey, and many other free trade agreements are in progress with Africa and Asian countries. Donc, we have launched in recent years very strategic projects to enhance and upgrade our industry and our whole environment to anticipate and adapt the Moroccan offer to the international moving demand. We have set up a big plan for industry development, which raised 8 sectors as international skill sectors for Morocco. Besides the traditional ones, textile, agribusiness, leather, we have automobile industry, electronics, offshoring, and also we have a big sectorial plan in agricultural field. It's the green plan. We have also a plan in fisheries, and also one in logistics. Is to say that we have yet anticipated, the framework to upgrade our economy. And besides these plans, we have devised a strategy for developing and promoting Moroccan exports. It's the marketing part of what has been done at the level of the offer. Now, concerning the crisis, effectively, the crisis mainly has affected the oriented export sectors, mainly textile, for Morocco, I am talking for Morocco, textile, leather, and automotive parts, less electronic. Then for these sectors, the government has put in place a fund to help